I'm always in the habit of, if I like a chart, I'll go look at the chart. And then I'll seek out the narrative that would correspond with that. So if I like the chart of the Russell, I think the Russell's going to go down, then I want to check the narrative. So what is the narrative? The narrative is, yields may be going higher. That affects KRE. KRE is a big component of the Russell. That could help the Russell go down. So then I check the narrative and then I go back to the chart to see if I have a true setup. And if I do, then I look to see what's my trigger. What would have to happen on the chart for me to get into the trade. And then I'll start looking at, levels and pricing and figure out what option is going to be best for me. So it's kind of that's my methodology. If I start with a narrative like the Fed is going to do this, or the Fed is doing that, the dollar is weakening, whatever, that can then lead me to a chart. So if I see the dollar potentially is moving higher, that leads me to think, let me take a look at silver because that could cause a drop in metals. So then I took look at the chart itself. Do I have a setup? What's my trigger? What levels am I looking at and how can I price? Doesn't that make sense? So if you're looking at a chart, check the narrative that surrounds itself with the chart, whatever it is. That narrative could be based on the industry itself, like, well, I like AMD. Okay, good. What else is happening in the chip market, the semiconductor market? Can it move in NVIDIA one way or the other affect that? Maybe you should look at NVIDIA. Like, check the whole narrative out, then go back to the chart. What you could then do when you go back to the chart is decide, well, you know what, let me look at a couple of charts in that sector. Let me check AMD. Let me check Avgo. Let me check MU, right? Let me check a few of them. Oh, I like this one, looks better. So then you spread out to additional charts in that sector. Does this make sense? Just a way of kind of spotting opportunities. No, I don't think that they're going to pull money and rotate from the Russell. No. I think that the holdings they have in the Russell, they're going to dump. And I think they'll dump. And then I think they will hedge. Here's the thing. If you have, I'll ask you a question. You have a shit ton of Apple, and then you have some small cap exposure. You don't have as nearly as much that you have of Apple. You're expecting a 1 to 2 standard deviation move to the downside. What do you do? Do you sell your Apple? Yes or no? Do you dump Apple? Probably not. You probably buy puts as a hedge. You probably buy, calls on the VIX as well. So take some protective measures. Maybe you sell a little bit of Apple, but for the most part, you're going to lean in with some hedges. Okay, fine. Now, what do I do with the small caps? Am I going to buy calls on the small cap VIX? No. Am I going to load up on puts on some of these small cap stocks? Yes or no? Would I do that? No. Well, what would I do? Well, I'm going to just dump them. I don't have that much of them anyway. I'm not going to dump 50% of my Apple just because I think the markets are going to take a bit of a ride to the downside. But if I'm sitting on small cap and I want to lower my exposure, would it make sense to watch Apple go and the small caps go and the mid caps go? It wouldn't. It wouldn't make sense at all. If I'm at a profit here, I'll sell some of it. Then I'll throw some puts to protect the rest of it. And then I'll put some protective hedges like buying fixed calls. And then I'll dump some of this. I'll dump most of it. There's no reason to sit there with that exposure. So that's one of the reasons why the Russell likes to lead the way in market downturns because it's the first to go. It's the first stuff that you're going to get rid of in your portfolio. What is your outlook for SLV 930 calls? I don't have an outlook for them. If you notice, when people ask me that question, I don't have an outlook for anything. I have a setup, and as long as the setup is valid, I stay in the trade. If the setup breaks, then I get out of the trade. If the setup seems to be working and holding support, I'll add to the trade. And it's really as simple as that. So you always have to ask yourself, is the setup still valid for that trade?
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video from Trade With Me Now. Make sure to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel so you make sure that you catch our next video right when it's released. Also, if you have a question or comment, please leave that in the comments section below. And of course, if you want to learn more about Trade With Me Now or join our community of profitable traders, go to tradewithmenow.com. There's also a link in the description below.